News Talk 94.5 WPTI, 96.7 FM WTOB. You're listening to the Wealth Guardian Show with Doug Ray, helping you retire the job and keep the paycheck. This week you have Garrett Ray and Brice Payne. And this morning we are talking about questions you may ask of your financial advisor. Good morning, Brice. How are we doing?
I'm doing well. Garrett, how are you?
I am doing okay.
I'm glad to hear that. And yeah, thank you for your help over the weekend on Garrett being an ex-Tesla engineer and having what kind of engineering degree is it you have, Garrett?
Yeah, not what you would expect for working at Tesla. I have a civil engineering degree. But
you've got a working knowledge of e-batteries. And so my wife and I got e-bikes over the weekend, and I had a couple questions for him about charging strategies, and Garrett walked me through that. And I will tell you that if you've never ridden an e-motorcycle, boy, are they exhilarating. All right, Garrett, let's go ahead and jump into things here. Let's start off by doing the Wealth Guardian Service Salute before we get into the question for your Wealth Guardian advisor.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we just want to take this moment at the start of every show and every week, as we do, to recognize our men and women in uniform and our first responders who are responding out there for the community. Shout out to all the families who have loved ones in those occupations. We know that those can be very trying times with everything that's going on in the world. So from our heart to yours, thank you.
All right, very good. All right, let's go ahead and ask the question of your financial advisor, your Wealth Guardian's financial advisor. Get to know them. And the question we're going to ask each other this week is, and I'll throw it to Garrett first, and then Garrett will throw it to me. And of course, at the same time, we're throwing it to you out there. What about your current life, Garrett, would the college age version of Garrett have the toughest time believing? That at 30, almost 9 years old, I don't really care to be out much past about 10 p.m. Okay.
It's 10 p.m. is kind of the line where I'm starting like, okay, let's take it on home.
I get you. That just comes with the territory of growing older. If not, then I question some things about your life decisions. Yeah. But okay. So calling it a night earlier than later, as we might have in college. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for me, Brice, what about your current life would the college age version of Brice have the toughest time believing? And that would be that I listen and enjoy country music.
Oh, okay.
I was not a country music. I had no interest in country music when I was in college. I was into the alternative radio music scene, REM, U2, those kind of bands. Yeah. But as the years have gone on, I've become somewhat of a music aficionado, I like to think, and appreciate many different genres of music. Cool. And have fallen into a deep appreciation for country. Very cool. So that's my college. I don't know what my college age Brice would think of that if he knew that I had a pretty good, healthy collection of Emmylou Harris and Johnny Cash and all of that, what he would say about that. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started on our topic here, and good morning to everybody out there listening in the radio world. What we're talking about in both segments this morning is the questions you must ask your financial advisor. The questions you must ask your financial advisor. So in case you've ever wondered what questions to ask or why those questions are crucial, in today's episode, we're talking exactly that. We're discussing the vital questions that bring transparency and depth to your financial advisory relationship. It's really about getting clarity on how advisors work, what they specialize in, and how they align with your financial goals. So we've put together the questions that you really should be asking your financial advisor. And Garrett, the first one we want to talk about, the first question that should come to people's minds is what?
Yeah, this is the one that a lot of people typically ask is, hey, how do you guys get paid? Or, should we become clients of yours? How do you essentially make money? Really there's two ways that financial advisors, financial planners get paid. One of them is a percentage fee off of the amount of assets that they manage, or AUM, assets under management. Right. There's a range to what that fee typically is. But the industry average, I would say, is about 1%.
Can't be higher than 2.25.
Can't be higher than 2.25. And, there's the other side of that coin is there are advisors, planners, really brokers get paid from commissions based. So if you have someone who's actively buying and selling stocks on your behalf, that's kind of the old school model.
Yes.
Where they're getting paid a commission off of each transaction, both the buy and the sell. So just understanding how your financial planner advisor is compensated is something that is helpful for anyone who's considering making that transition over to having an advisor.
Right. Yeah. If you've just had a 401k your whole life, you might not be familiar with this. 401ks charge you what's called a 12B1 fee, which is, I guess you could say,
those aren't free to you either.
They are not. The equivalent of more or less of an advisor fee is what you were talking about, assets under management. But then if your advisor also, as many advisors do, and we do here at the Wealth Guardians, if your advisor also works in the insurance side of things, like we will help clients get set up for life insurance or long-term care insurance. Sometimes certain types of annuities might be a proper solution for a person's retirement portfolio. Those are not based off of a fee. They're what's called commission, where the insurance company pays that insurance agent or advisor
for running the business.
A commission for running the business, for, I guess, for lack of a better word, selling that life insurance policy or whatever it might be. So that's kind of a third way that an advisor may get paid. But then a lot of advisors don't dip into the insurance side of things anyway. But yeah, it's a very vital question. You do want to have an understanding of how your advisor gets paid. You would want to know how the mechanic that you take your car to gets paid. You would want to know how your doctor gets paid to a certain degree. So you'd want to know how your advisor gets paid as well. So that's a great question to ask and to at least understand. It doesn't mean that there's a right or a wrong way in there, but you'd at least want to have the answer there. And if you're just tuning in, you're listening to the Wealth Guardian Show with Garrett, Ray, and Brice Payne. This week, Doug is out of the recording studio, might be back in next week. And this week we're talking about the questions you must ask your financial advisor. We're talking about this in the first segment and the second segment. And so the next thing we want to bring up, the next question that you might want to ask your financial advisor is, what does your typical client look like? There's different, Garrett, there's different, every advisor out there, and I don't say every, but most advisors out there have some kind of a specialty or a niche that they really focus on. We're no exception here at the Wealth Guardians, as we are retirement specialists. And so understanding what your typical client your advisor's typical client looks like will help you understand whether or not you fit into what they're really good at or accustomed at working with.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, there's certain advisors who, kind of like you were talking about, Brice, that specialize in the wealth accumulation phase of life. So these are typically investors who are comfortable with more risk, generally, not always, tend to be a little bit younger. And then there's advisors that's, we're more closely aligned with, although we do have younger clients, but that specialize in their retirement specialists. And so they typically are looking for a more conservative type investor, at least financially speaking. And then also, tend to be older, but not necessarily. I mean, there are folks who retire at a younger age, but have a need for a long-term financial plan that is going to last them many, many years versus trying to find, what is the next hot stock over the next 6, 12, 18 months, that sort of thing, and really looking to more actively trade the portfolio. So absolutely understand what that clientele base is. Is this advisor working just locally in your town or your city? Are they statewide or in some cases nationwide? We have a few interstate, I guess I would say, clients, Brice, but
our furthest away client is in Hawaii.
We got several in Oklahoma, a couple in Florida. But that being said, primarily we focus here in the triad of North Carolina and then also down in Charlotte. So there's that to consider as well. What's the geographical presence of your firm?
Right. Yep. And one of the things that a retirement specialist advisor, such as we are here at the Wealth Guardians, might want to help their clients focus on are tax strategies. When you are in the wealth accumulation phase that you were talking about, Garrett, you never want to pay more than you have to in taxes, of course, but most of your income is going to come in the form of W-2 or employment income. Well, when you're retired, you might have a lot of different types of income coming in: retirement income, from Social Security, from investments. You're starting to take distributions from your investments. You never did that probably while you were working. You might have passive income like rental income.
Yeah, if you're a landlord.
Yeah. You may have some kind of pension as well. So tax strategies play an important role with a retirement specialist. And speaking of that, Garrett, we have our seminar coming up, our first seminar of 2024.
Yeah.
And it's called Tax Strategies to Transform Your Retirement. And so I'm gonna beseech you out there to, if you are getting ready to retire, and you have never sat through a seminar to understand how taxes change in retirement from when you're in the wealth accumulation phase of life, I would highly suggest that you attend one of our seminars here. And we're putting it on this upcoming week, Tuesday, March 5th, and Thursday, March 7th. They're the same one both nights, so you only have to attend one. There is no cost or obligation to attend. However, you do need to call and register. So our phone number is 336-391-3409. That's 336-391-3409. You can also register by way of our website, thewealthguardians.com, and click on the Events tab. Tax Strategies to Transform Your Retirement. If you think what you know what you need to know about taxes and retirement, and you've never sat through a seminar like this, I would question whether or not you really do know everything that you need to know. Very important to understand how taxes change for you once you are in the wealth distribution phase of life, from the wealth accumulation phase of life. All right, Garrett, that's going to cut it for the first segment here. We're going to go to a break, but what always happens, Garrett, before we go to a break?
I think you probably have a trivia question.
I do. And what do we usually focus those trivia questions on?
Normally, we like history here.
We like history. And what kind of history?
Typically U.S. history.
There we go. All right. So here's our trivia question. Let's see out there if you know it, and let's see if Garrett knows it. Garrett, why is the Resolute desk in the Oval Office called the Resolute desk? All right.
Yep.
That's going to wrap it up for the first segment here. This is Brice Payne. With me is Garrett Ray. The show's The Wealth Guardians, helping you retire the job and keep the paycheck. And this is News Talk 94.5 WPTI. And this is 96.7 FM WTOB. News Talk 94.5 WPTI. 96.7 FM, WTOB. You're listening to The Wealth Guardian Show with Doug Ray, helping you retire the job and keep the paycheck. I'm Brice Payne, along with Garrett Ray. And in the second segment, we're going to continue this morning talking about the questions that you must ask your financial advisor. Now, before we get to our trivia question and see if we stumped Garrett, I suspect we didn't, I've got two questions for you. A, are you looking forward to your retirement? Sure you are. B, do you want to make sure you're making the best financial decisions for your retirement? Of course you do. So you answered yes to both those questions, then I've got great news for you. We here at the Wealth Guardians, as always, offer a no cost, no obligation, second opinion / review of your retirement plan. This includes a deep analysis of your assets, your investment portfolio, your insurance policies, income needs, risk tolerance, risk exposure, tax mitigation strategies, legacy goals, and the fees you are currently paying. So here's our goal. It's simple. We want to help you lower your fees, and we want to help you align your risk and improve your overall retirement picture so you can indeed retire the job and keep the paycheck. But here's the catch. The ball is in your court at this point. You have to give us a call. We don't know how to reach out to you. So here's our phone number, 336-391-3409. That again is 336-391-3409. Give us a call or visit us at thewealthguardians.com to set up your financial plan / review with Doug, Garrett, and myself today. I want you to remember the markets aren't going to wait for you. All right, let's go ahead and get to this trivia question here. Garrett, are you ready?
I believe so.
So let me repeat the trivia question, and let's see how many of you are ready out there as well. Why is the Resolute desk in the Oval Office, Garrett, called the Resolute desk?
You know, this is one of those times, Brice, where I can say that you have absolutely stumped me. I have no clue why it's called the Resolute desk.
Really?
I've never even heard that term before. So, yeah.
You didn't even know that the desk in the Oval Office was called the Resolute desk? Okay.
Nope.
Okay, well, interesting.
Plenty of pictures of presidents behind the desk. Had no clue what the name was.
Okay, so it's called the Resolute desk. It is made from oak, timbers from the HMS Resolute, which was abandoned in latitude 74, 41, is that minutes? 74, 41?
Yeah, it's basically the coordinates, yeah.
Okay, well, I know the coordinates. 74, 41 north and longitude 101 degrees 22 west.
Yep.
On the 15th of May, 1854, in an expedition in search of Sir John Franklin in 1852.
Okay.
The HMS Resolute was abandoned at that point. She was rediscovered and extricated in September 1855 by the U.S. It was purchased by the U.S. at that point. It was extricated by a private citizen of the U.S., a whaler. The U.S. purchased her, fitted her, and sent her back to England as a gift to Queen Victoria as a token of goodwill and friendship. At a later point, in 1880, she was broken apart again, and let's see, she was in Queen Victoria as a token of goodwill and friendship. She was broken up and the table was made from her timbers and presented to the U.S. by the Queen of Great Britain as a memorial of the U.S.'s courtesy and loving kindness. And that was in 1880, and Rutherford B. Hayes was the receiving president of it.
Okay.
So that is why it's called the Resolute Desk. Not every president has used it. Most presidents have. It was taken out of the Oval Office for a while during the Nixon, Jimmy Carter, Johnson era. But it is back in there, and essentially every president since then has used it, if not for their entire term, at least for a part of their term. It's a beautiful desk if you look at a picture of it. And you can, of course, watch that Nicolas Cage movie where there's a secret drawer in it as well. I forget what the name of the movie is. National Treasure. There we go. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started on things here for the second segment. Garrett, questions you must ask your financial advisor. Let's go ahead and take on the next one. And a question here that would be a good one is, how much contact do you have with your clients? How often should we meet in person or have a conversation on the phone? That's a very good question to ask your advisor, Garrett.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, you want to have an understanding of what kind of the operations tempo, if you want to use that phrase, is with your financial advisor. You know, everyone's a little bit different. Some ideally, right, that would be something that you and your advisor would set up on a personal level. You know, some clients want a little bit more touch, I'll call it, where they want a phone call, you know, once a quarter or perhaps even once a month. A minimum standard, at least for us, is we would like to see you in person in the office at least once a year. Much like your doctor wants to see you for an annual physical, well, let's do a financial physical and a financial checkup on you at least once per year. But, you know, I've always kind of fallen into the category, okay, 1 year is the bare minimum. But then also too, like, if there's a need for a personal level of just touching base, let's establish that on, you know, just kind of person to person, eyeball to eyeball there during our meeting process.
There might be some events in between those annual reviews that warrant a meeting in between them. Say that you come into an inheritance, or you're ready to retire. Maybe your last review was 6 months ago. Your next review isn't for another 6 months, but you're ready to retire next month. Might be a good time to sit down with your advisor and just make sure that you've got all of your ducks in the row. Absolutely.
Life events, like we've had clients talk to us when they've had a son or a daughter getting married, you know, that's what, and they want to do some sort of helping out there. So we've done that before. Yeah.
All right. Well, if you're just tuning in, you're listening to the Wealth Guardian Show with Brice, Payne, and Garrett Ray. Doug is out of the office this week, or out of the radio studio this week. And we are talking about the questions you must ask your financial advisor. Garrett, let's go on to the next one here. Another question you would want to ask your financial advisor is, do you provide educational resources?
Yeah. So, I mean, well, number one, we have certainly a radio show, but there's, you know, things that most financial planners, advisors do. They want to have, in addition to just the personal conversations that you're having with them across a desk or a conference table, is additional resources for their clients, whether it be on a website. You know, we also, too, at least for us, we have a YouTube channel with our podcast we call The Vault, which is different financial topics that are little nuggets or tidbits of financial information that it's always typically a common question someone has. Well, I wonder about this about my account, and they can look it up and use it as a resource. So absolutely, it's definitely important. And you, the listener out there, should be curious to know what your advisor is doing to help their clients along the way outside of their regular meeting process.
Nope, I agree completely. And one of those things might be seminars for the clients or for the general public. And speaking of that, Garrett, we've got a seminar coming up, and we do a number of seminars here at the Wealth Guardians for our clients and for the public at large, particularly those who are getting ready to retire. And we've got the first one of 2024 coming up here this week, and it's called Tax Strategies to Transform Your Retirement. This is really, Garrett, a crucial topic.
It is.
That somebody going into retirement, maybe you already retired or you're about to retire in the next couple of years, and most of us at that age, 60s, 70s, have gotten a pretty good idea of how taxes work when you are working for the man, right? But when you retire, you no longer have W-2 income. Nope. Most people don't. You probably don't even have 1099.
Significantly reduced.
Or significantly reduced. Yep. Maybe you'd had 1099 income. You might not have that anymore, or basic 1099 income. So, but you might have Social Security income. You might be taking distributions from your investments, whether they're IRAs or Roths or some other type of investment.
Could have capital gains.
Could have capital gains, exactly. And so taxes change considerably. And you ask yourself, do you know if 0%, 50%, or 85% of your Social Security is going to be taxed? If you don't know that, you might want to figure out how can I keep it from being 85% taxed? That's the type of thing that we're going to talk about at our Tax Strategies to Transform Your Retirement seminar, which is this Tuesday, March 5th, and again this Thursday, March 7th. There is no cost or obligation to attend. That's one of the best bits of information about this. However, you do have to register. And so to register, you give us a call at 336-391-3409. That's 336-391-3409, or reach out to us at thewealthguardians.com and click on the events tab. Highly suggest that you attend one of those just to get an idea of how taxes change for you in retirement. All right, Garrett, let's go ahead and get to one more here.
Okay.
What happens, this is another question that you might want to ask your financial advisor. What happens if there's an emergency with my finances and you're unavailable? Garrett, you like this question particularly.
Yeah, I do, because, some people think that their financial advisor planner is their only point of contact. As you're working with this financial advisor or financial planner, get to know their support staff too. We have an awesome support staff in Lynn and Joy. And essentially that's part of our contingency plan, is that if there's three advisors here, Doug, Brice, and myself, but if you can't get a hold of one of the three of us, then you can certainly get a hold of Joy and Lynn, who do a lot of customer support as well. In addition, I'm not specific about what particular type of emergency, but lots of times we do get questions around if someone is taking a distribution, how long does it take for that transaction to occur?
Right.
We always tell them 3 to 5 business days. We're not a bank here. We can't turn it around same day.
Most advisors can't.
Most advisors can't, and most financial institutions cannot unless they are a bank. But that being said, with reasonable heads up, we can certainly do some distribution planning for you. We have multiple levels of encryption and cybersecurity that we take to great painstakingly to establish for our firm, just because we know that people's information is sensitive. That's becoming a topic that people are more and more concerned about. So ask your financial planner, what type of emergency protocols and security protocols do you have, not only around your internal workings of your office, but also around my information specifically? How are you protecting it? Becoming more and more important these days, Brice. And I absolutely love this question. And interestingly enough, I'd say it's a question that is not asked as often as I would like to hear from our clients.
Yeah, that's true. Because what would be the worst answer that you'd hear? So you're thinking of coming on board, becoming a client of a particular advisor, and you ask him this question: what happens if there's an emergency with my finances and you're unavailable? And he says, well, I've got voicemail. Leave a message when I come back from my vacation, maybe whenever, and I'll listen to your message at that point and get back to you at the next week or whenever. That's probably an answer you don't want to hear from your advisor. advisor.
Exactly. And my engineering brain turns on. If you've got a single point of failure in any process, that's a problem. So having redundancy in place, whether that's multiple advisors, multiple support staff, what kind of security protocols is your financial planner going through? All that's incredibly important and just makes for a better client experience.
I agree completely. Well, you know what, Garrett, that is going to wrap it up for this week. That's all the time that we've got, as we're always limited to about 30 minutes here on this weekend day. But I want to thank you for joining us. We hope the rest of your weekend is everything you want to be. This is Brice Payne along with Garrett Ray, the show's The Wealth Guardians, helping you retire the job and keep the paycheck. And I do want to remind you, sound financial plans do not create themselves. This is News Talk 94.5 WPTI. This is 96.7 FM WTOB.